What do Falcons do? Rise up! Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show where we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, the Golden Hard Doc, and the lifelong sports fan, coming back to you with a quick fan preview of the Washington Commies, otherwise known as Commanders, at the Atlanta Falcons. Commies are 2-3, Falcons are 3-2. Should be a very good matchup this week, a game that we certainly should be able to take advantage of from a defensive standpoint. And hopefully this turns into our get-right game from a defensive line standpoint. As of this moment, we have a total of 5 sacks on the year, which is certainly not what I had predicted, or really anybody else who saw what we were building and saw the schemes that Ryan Nielsen liked to run and thought, hey, this is a team that's still, after 2 seasons back-to-back, bottom of the NFL in sacks, continue to be that, especially in light of the fact that we have been such a shut-down defense on the run and pretty much a shut-down defense through the air as well. We've allowed a few big plays with bad coverage or miscommunications that have turned into touchdowns, but for the most part, the addition of Jesse Bates, David Onyemata, Calais Campbell, all these things have proved to be very, very good. Bud Dupree even got in on the action with several good tackles for losses last week. And then I'm trying to think of anybody else. Caden Ellis, he's one of the guys who's been a bright spot at the middle linebacker position. Nate Landman, who has had to step up into that role at middle linebacker with an injury to Troy Anderson. He's looked pretty good in a couple of games and definitely a solid depth piece there. I don't know if he could hold it down alone if we lose Caden Ellis, but he's certainly a depth piece. And Jeff Okudah has turned in 2 solid performances since we've gotten him back from injury to pair with A.J. Terrell, and then you always have the heart of the defense in Grady Jarrett. But the problem is, even with all of this said, we're still not getting sacks. We're getting pressure, and we're certainly causing quarterbacks to have to get rid of the ball quickly, but that's really the problem that I see, is we're willing to give up a 2 or 3 yard completion where somebody's got tight coverage on the safety valve, but we don't get there in time to sack the quarterback. Now, last week the Denver Broncos were able to, or sorry, not Denver Broncos, Chicago Bears were able to get 4 sacks on Sam Howell and force him anytime he got pressure to make god-awful decisions. We certainly can do the pressure part, but are we going to be able to get there? And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. We need to force Sam Howell to make problematic plays, to force interceptions, or even force a fumble out of him on a sack. We need to do something in that regard. Brian Robinson, overall, from their running back standpoint, has looked pretty good this year. Falcons, I think, will shut him down. We've shut down running backs that are as good, maybe even a little bit better at this point. So I do think that we have the ability to shut him down. Antonio Gibson, I don't think will have a great day either. I think the Falcons' run defense is probably the strongest aspect of their defense. And again, because they are putting some pressure on the quarterback, you're seeing that this secondary that has been picked apart in the past because there's been no pressure at all is actually looking competent and good, because quarterbacks don't have all day in the pocket to throw because they are having to move around. They are having to escape pressure. We're just not getting there on the sacks, and it's so frustrating to watch going into week 6 to know that we are still at the bottom of the league in sacks. Now, that's the defense. We got to get better on that potential. The offense, Desmond Ridder coming out and having a frickin' phenomenal game. We did lose Caleb McGarry last week to injury, though he has had limited practices on Wednesday and Thursday this week, and we'll see what happens today. I anticipate it's going to be another limited practice. He's got a little bit of a knee issue, so you don't want to tweak that too early. He may sit in favor of Storm Norton, who looked really good this past week. He was part of the reason that our pass defense pass blocking was so effective, because Desmond Ridder did not have to run for his freaking life every single play within 0.5 seconds of the ball being snapped. And when he had time to throw, and with the defense stacking the box trying to take away the run, which they did effectively, it opened up the pass game, which is exactly what we have wanted to do this whole frickin' time. But we haven't been able to do that because even though run blocking has been there, the pass block hasn't. And when we are trying to open up the pass game, Desmond Ridder has not had time to throw it. And he finally did. And he finally looked like a competent quarterback this last week with better offensive line play. I think that's going to be the key for him going forward. Also, he has not lost at home yet. We're going to hope that that continues and that he continues to be perfect both in college and now at the NFL level while playing at home. And then, we're going to see if this carries over into road games after this. But I do think that he will be a good piece of the offense this week. I think we've got to figure out the run game in light of losing Caleb McGarry potentially, who is a better run blocker than pass blocker. We've got to figure out ways to get the ball up into the trenches and get 4, 5, 6 yards per carry like we were doing last year. Bijan Robinson is still making guys miss. If you don't hit him on the first chance, he's going to get 4 or 5 yards out of it, but if you wrap him up, it's probably a tackle for a loss. Tyler Algier, not looking great since the first game of the season. He's definitely a guy who needs momentum, so we're not giving him that pound for pound rock to get going. He just doesn't seem to have enough time to get into a rhythm. And last year he was best when he had run the ball like 20, 25 times and really wore the defense out. But I do want us to establish the run early and often in this game. I don't want to lean on Ridder for more than 30 passes to win the game. If we have to do that every week, that's not a sustainable pattern for winning. Not with the team that we have. It worked last week, but for the 2 weeks prior, didn't work at all. So we know that's not a long-term winning formula. We know if we have better pass blocking, we can move the ball, but we've got to get the run going. Now, as far as injuries go, we'll talk about a couple of them here. You've got Calais Campbell, who is just on veteran rest. He'll be a full practice participant today, or at least limited, but he's going to be good to go. The guy's almost 38 years old, or he actually may be 38 at this point, so he is going to go here and play. He's just getting that much-needed veteran rest. Bud Dupree, outside linebacker, he, again, got a little injured last week, but he had a limited practice, not full practice, so he's probably going to play. Jonnu Smith, who went out of the game with an ankle injury, had a limited practice Wednesday, full practice yesterday. I anticipate him playing. And again, Caleb McGarry, probably it'll depend on what happens today, but he's been limited. I would rather not risk him and at least have him as a rotational piece rather than the full-time starter in this game. But that's just my thoughts on our injuries. Washington Commies are going into this game pretty much healthy. I don't see anybody of note here other than Curtis Hodges has had an illness. Christian Holmes had a hamstring issue. We don't have their updated Thursday report available at the time of making this video. So we'll see what happens with everybody there. But otherwise, they're going to be pretty healthy overall going into this game. But guys, I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the season. If you haven't done so already, please consider doing it to help the channel grow. Thank you to the 185 of you who have done so far. I don't know why you choose to listen to this goober make videos, but it really makes my day when I get to see that number going up and know that there are people out there who do somewhat at least enjoy my content. But again, thank you to everybody who has supported the channel so far. Hate to see that the Braves have been knocked out of the World Series. I have said this time and time again. I would rather be hot in September and October than hot at any other point in the season. I've had people tell me, no, you really want to get that #1 seed. You really want to have a great record going into the playoffs. I have watched us have good records too many times and watched us fizzle out in October to think that actually matters. I would rather be the wild card team coming in, playing hot, and going on a tear to win the entire thing than a team that kind of gets to rest, doesn't get their groove going, doesn't get to keep the bats hot, and then goes from there. You have 3 of the top seeds being knocked out this year in the wild card round, and I think that says something about baseball, or not the wild card, the divisional round. I do think that says something about baseball playoffs. But guys, that's all I got for you today. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. And as always, rise up.